This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to Teach Me Pokemon, the podcast. I'm your host, Cory, and along with my co-host, Jared, we're best friends, been playing Pokemon for a very long time.
All right, Teach Me Pokemon, we're back. Cory, Jared, we're both here. We're going to talk some Pokemon. We're what, 2 weeks removed from Worlds, Jared? Does it still feel like it was real? Like, did it happen, or does it feel like it hasn't happened?
It definitely happened. There was enough drama at this competition that there's no doubt that it happened.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
one for the ages, we will say.
I will say overall, like just on Twitter, I feel like Ian is getting a lot of love right now. Like people, the GOAT and, just giving him props and stuff. Are you surprised by that?
I'm not. It's like we talked about too on our special episode right after the incident happened. It's very subjective. You still can't do it, but
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people think he got cheated.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think he would have been the favorite to win at that point if he had gone through?
No, I still like the Miraidon matchup, and I think it proved time and time again. I don't know how many Regidragos Jesse had to go through in day 1 and day 2, but I feel like he was well equipped for that matchup. So I would have taken Jesse over Ian going into that matchup.
Okay. So you think Jesse Parker would have still won the tournament?
I don't. Now listen, this crazy roaring moon versus that's a coin flip in my book. I don't think any of the people following Pokemon were looking at the win percentage split of Miraidon versus Roaring Moon EX going into that tournament.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they were not thinking of how that matchup was gonna go. All right, well, we have a new season right now that Worlds is past us. There's a new season coming up. However, we have a little bit more of Worlds content that we want
more Worlds coverage, Cory. We've got some more Worlds coverage.
Do I put the thing up now? When you
say put that thing up now.
So,
yeah,
right,
put it up.
Right.
We got some Worlds coverage here. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. We've upgraded y'all this week too. We've got some video that we're going to be showing y'all. We've got some hot topics we're going to be covering. But I do think this will be the last week that we talk about Worlds. We have a new set coming out that we're going to be talking about here the next couple weeks. And we've got tournaments and regionals and so much going into September.
It's happening, man. People heading to Baltimore. We got a little registration tonight for Louisville. Louisville. Depends on where you're from. But hey, I think your Teach Me Pokemon crew, we're gonna be there. We're going.
Absolutely.
So,
super pumped
fun.
about it. But we do have to settle a bet first.
We gotta settle.
We have to settle a bet first. So Cory and I had 2 competitions going into Worlds. One of them was we had that 17 questionnaire. What's going to happen? I did eke out the win based on some technicalities. Thank you to the Cifuentes family once again, and the things that we said on previous episodes. However, if you do remember an episode after that, Cory and I took the 8 guests that were in Worlds, and we said who is going to finish higher. We looked at the points that were coming on there. Cory, go ahead and show them that list and how everybody finished up in the tournament there.
All right. I accidentally clicked on the wrong one. So my apologies. All right, here we go. I haven't seen this yet.
Here it is.
There it is. So, hey, and I have, well, hold on. Before you dive in, there's only one thing that I kind of guessed on was Owen Cameraman's finish. He did not make day 2. So I gave you the benefit of the doubt that he went 5-3 in day 1, because that would have been the best record.
I appreciate
ideally that you could have had to not. Well, I guess you could have gone 5-1-2. But so I think that's where he finished. Okay. So this is a heads up.
At the end of the day, if you go ahead and click to the next slide, it doesn't matter. Cory, you had a definitive 10-point win here with Rahul almost going into top 8, like finishing 9th. Like, what a run.
I know. Jared, you said I had an old guy team.
I did. I gave you a hard time for that.
Yeah, and sometimes the old guys, Rahul's probably in his mid-20s, I think mid to late 20s, so he's not even that old. But They come through. Tried and true
I
Lugia.
do.
Rahul played it well, got all the way to we'll call it top 8, even though it was an 8-9 matchup. But yeah, Rahul, props, man. You carried me, baby. So
Man,
I
get it.
appreciate it.
Get
Yep.
it, get it. Well, I can't. You did well. You trusted your gut. I took the younger crowd. Owen was on stream and got that win, even with the misplay. I was hoping that his Iron Thorns would carry on into the next day. Didn't. But can we just talk for a minute about the Simfuentes family as a whole? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
First, and like, what was it? What did he finish? 35th,
53rd, I think, was
53rd. That's
Marco. Yeah.
insane.
And was really like just a few points away from really being in that top 32, which is what mattered for making the money. But yeah, I mean, we talked to him at the beginning of the year on the podcast. He had his head on straight. He had won a regionals and then a special event back to back. Like he was doing well. That might have been Owen, but he had been playing really well this season. And he mentions his brother
He
in the
does.
podcast.
He
He
mentions
mentions
his whole family. Yeah, his
his whole
dad
family,
too.
talked about his dad, and so it was just awesome to see that come to fruition. And maybe we'll get the whole Cifuentes family on the podcast and we can talk to them all.
I'm with it, man.
Because that's a family win, right? I mean, you remember, Jared, when we were younger, right? When we were in college and there was 4 of us playing Pokemon all the time. That was like our dojo, right? That was our training center, and the 4 of us playing together all the time. And so no matter if one of us won or whatever, like there's a lot of credit that goes to the group. That family, man, they playing all the time. So credit to the whole family. They
Absolutely.
should, yeah,
And I
make
think it
the
just
family the world's winner. Change the
absolutely.
Wikipedia.
And it just to me, it also shows you don't have to have a giant testing group in order
Mm-mm.
to play a quality opponent to try things out. Just find people that are good at the game and honestly want to get better. And they found it, in the same chromosomal pool. So get it done.
There you go.
Get
If
it
they want
done.
to, I'm up for adoption. If the Cifuentes family wants to adopt me, I'll move in and practice.
You'll join
I'll
their
go.
dojo.
Yeah, I'll join the dojo. So my wife and kiddo, they'll figure it out. It's just it's like when well, never mind. But I would join the dojo.
You would
I'd join the dojo.
join the dojo. Well, I love
Yeah.
it. That so we'll call it a split. I don't know. Maybe we look at Stefan to decide and split the win, but we don't have to do any of that because honestly, even speaking now of the Simpuentes family, we have to bring up the winning deck again and talk about what it means going forward, and also to talk about just how we feel about a deck of its nature because there's lot a lot of divisiveness out there about this deck. So,
Yeah.
Cory, go ahead and throw that graphic up there right
Yeah.
there.
Boom. Boom, baby.
Is
Come
this
on.
is this deck going to be a thorn in the Pokemon community's side going forward? Because it's not going anywhere.
No.
None of this stuff is going anywhere, Cory, for the
Mm-mm.
foreseeable first part of the season. So my first question to you, I want to get to the coin flipping in a minute and talk about another article I read and give a shout out, but do you think this is going to be a top 3 most popular deck moving into our first couple of regionals?
A top 3? Oh, like in meta share?
Yes, like in MetaShare.
No. No. I don't think so. I think it's oh, how do I say this delicately? Like and this is no knock on Fernando, but I just think it's too simplistic for people. And so I think they want to steer away from this deck, and it just gets the eye rolls. And I think some people just like get uncomfortable by that because they don't want to upset their opponent in a weird way. And I think if it does get more popular, which just because it won Worlds doesn't mean it's going to be top 3, but there are workarounds against a Thorns deck, between the canceling Cologne, the Sandy Shocked, if you're going to play like Raging Bolt and stuff, can hit this thing. So there's some ways around it that I think people would like put more time and effort into it. And so I just don't think it's gonna see that kind of meta share.
That's fair. No, I don't disagree with you. I do think we'll still see it in a top 5, 6, just because there we haven't seen anything yet that's currently in the meta. Not looking forward to the next set that deals with all of these just stupid, powerful powers, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and that is the other side of the coin, if you will. That it does. I mean, it shuts down the abilities, which has always been a prominent archetype in Pokemon. Is like shut down the abilities, shut down the powers. And I do think it's again not a knock on Fernando, but you can kind of play this deck and turn the brain off a little bit. Now there are decisions that have to be made. There are. I'm not saying you just flip over the cards and just go, but like it's just a little different when you're just your whole strategy is to make your opponent think about how they play it. You have to decide when to do your counter catchers and when you want to play certain supporters at the right time, when do you judge your opponent, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're just like, man, I'm tired, I don't know what to run, just run thorns. Like it's just run thorns. And then it just comes down to matchups at that point.
absolutely. And again, like you said this when we did our first Worlds coverage. It's not that there's no skill in this deck. There are some decisions that have to be made. You are still having to weigh things. This is not what I would call like an autopilot deck. There are very few of those. I like even stall, which some people roll their eyes out. There's a lot of decision making that goes into like a Snorlax, Pidgeot stall deck. Things that I don't want to think about while I'm playing a game. But the other part that I want to talk about this moving forward is there's a great article released yesterday on No Leaks. Great place where you can read and have some readable Pokemon content because I guarantee you that Teach Me Pokemon will not be creating a blog and doing anything like this.
How dare you?
But the author brought up a great point talking about power of the coin flip was the title of the article, part of it. And they kind of went into some things. I'm going to quote some statistics from there. But is Iron Thorns, in your opinion, annoying and eye-rolly because of Iron Thorn's ability or because of the complementary, supplementary cards that are flippy, the crushing hammers, the pokey catchers, that add a lot more variance and luck into what its deck strategy is?
In my opinion, it's those darn coin flippy cards. That always just tilts me. It's just like, this is ridiculous. Like, you're just like, if this hits heads, this is dumb. If it hits tails, they deserved it. They deserve tails for even running these cards. And so, yeah, I think at the end of the day, an opponent can like wrap their head around, okay, my rule box Pokemon can't use abilities, so let me pivot. But then it's just those, and they're like, oh, here comes a catcher or that crushing hammer. Like, usually, I don't want to say all the time, but no matter, like, you can kind of attach an energy if you're like being slow. Even like I was playing some Lugia online. I said, Rahul, I like your deck. I want to copy it. So I was playing it and I hit a thorns. And I'm telling you, I was like, oh, I had it in the bag. There was like 5 win conditions for me, but he just kept hitting crushing hammer. And I just was like, and he had a slow start. That's the only way Lugia can even win that matchup. But he had a slow start, but he kept hitting those crushing hammers.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, and then he finally got up to doing the attack consistently. And I was like, well, this is over. So, yeah, I think it's definitely the flippies that make you want to flip out when you play against this Iron Thorns deck.
Wow. Yeah, no, I agree. So here's the statistics on Fernando's run through the top 8. So during his 3 matches, top 8, top 4 in the finals, there were 28 coin flips that Fernando performed. How many of them were heads? How many of them were tails?
28? You counted, or did this guy count?
This is research again done by the folks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. I was like, dang, you putting in the work. I'm gonna say he hit 16 of the 28.
You're close. 15 heads, 13 tails.
Okay.
In the finals, which is where a majority of the coin flips happened, he went 9 for 8. So, or 9 for 17. So,
gotcha.
About a 52% hit in the finals and a 53% hit during the course of his 3 sets in the game. So, in that, so it's like, okay, to me, that's like that's kind of the law of averages, Corey. Like,
Sure.
okay, he's 3% over. It could have gone either way, but like, my opinion on this, because I love to run flippy things, like you non-flippy player need to get over my flippiness because I'm running a risk that you're not willing to run.
No, it's dumb.
I disagree.
It's dumb. It's dumb. It's like you're not even letting the game, like you're the skill set just gets thrown out the window. Because it's just like, well, great, now we just come down to this coin flip thing where it's like, yeah, if you're gonna play 4 in one turn, okay, but a lot of times it's just like, this is my last out and I have no other play, and it's just, this is it, and it's just like I do all this hard work and it comes down to one stupid coin flip. Like, I don't know, it's just play prime catcher then, or work a boss order in.
But to me, it's like, I'm gonna say this again. I say this, I feel like, so many times. Pokemon is not chess. It has chess-like maneuvers, but this is a game of cards being flipped over, and you can only play skill to the nth degree without outside chance, luck, variance, whatever you want to come into play. Corey, you're a poker player. How many times have you caught a bad beat on a flop or a river or something like that? It's variance, it's coin flips.
Yeah. That's hitting a bad coin flip against me. Yeah, I don't need coin flips. So I go in with the best hand every time. But sometimes people rather be lucky than good. That's what they say. Let me ask you this, Jared. Let me ask you this. Lugia, okay? Rahul's deck. How many boss orders do you think is in that deck?
2.
In Lugia. 4.
Sure.
4. Okay. Why doesn't he remove the 4 boss orders and do counter catchers? They're items. You can research and then play.
He wants the guaranteed hit.
Oh, you want the guaranteed hit, because that's how you build your deck skill-wise around a guarantee, not these coin flip. Everyone would do the coin flips then. Just run coin flips. Why not just run coin flips?
There are reasons. Like, if you look at our Roaring Moon deck that finished in top 3, it's running a stadium that can help find its Pokecatcher so that it can flip on the Pokecatchers. And that's my other point is, I don't think it doesn't say, Crushing Hammer doesn't say, heads or tails, discard all energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's not unbalanced. It's saying 1 energy. Like, Pokecatcher is not unbalanced. You're pulling a card, but you have to flip a coin. Like, there have been unbalanced coins. Even think of like Silene, a supporter card that I know you play in some of your decks. You're having to flip coins.
But Silene doesn't necessarily have an effect on your opponent. It's getting cards back in your deck.
Yes, it does. What if you Silene back a Prime Catcher? That affects your opponent.
But you have to wait another turn.
No, there's so many draw mechanics right now. That's not true.
In Snorlax? How do you get...
I'm not saying... You're right. In Snorlax, you couldn't get it the same turn. But I'm saying in other decks there is. I'm just saying, like, this is a part of the fabric of Pokemon.
What other deck runs with Silenes? What other deck?
Golden Go runs Silene.
Golden Go also runs the little guy that puts it on 2 on the top. The supporter. Pick any 2 cards, put it on the top. I don't know. Cypher Maniac. I don't know. I think it's still cheese. It just feels like cheese. I mean, it's like, because you're gonna say you have 4 counter catchers or 4 crushing hammers and your thorns, and you flip tails on all of them. What are you gonna say? Why'd you lose? Why'd you lose that match? Unlucky. But you lost because you didn't hit your heads.
But that's the thing, is like that to me is a response. But it's like, if you're being real with yourself, it's like, that's the risk you run. And that's why I think flipping decks historically, if you look through tournament winners, there's not a lot in it, because good players know that the variance that gives, even if it's at a 53, 54%, like you said with Rahul, is probably not worth the boss's order versus the Pokecatcher. But I don't think flipping cards should be taken out of Pokemon. I don't think they're unbalanced. I think it's a very balanced risk reward. And if you don't like it, then run it. Like, that's going to be my response to it. Like, if you lose and the person hit all 4 crushing hammers, like, sorry, too bad. Yeah, good luck for that person, bad luck for this. But you could say that about draws. You could say that about what happens off the turn of a judge or Iono. There's so much. I don't see why coin flipping specifically gets attacked when there's so many other areas where are outside of your control in Pokemon.
It just, and I get that. I understand the like Iono for 2, or you like flower select and you get the boss order. We've seen that.
Or a bad flower select. You're like, I need both of these things. Oh, bad
Yeah,
luck.
yeah, but it feels like that's something that is in like you are doing that to yourself, and then you get lucky, and then you play it on your opponent and you win. The coin flip just feels like such a, oh, we're now not in the balance of Pokemon anymore. Now we're just in this. This just happened, and it wasn't any nobody. You didn't sequence correctly to hit a heads or a tails, right? Like you can complain all day about, well, you top deck the boss, but it's like, well, if I've thinned out my deck and I did everything I could to increase my chances, that just feels like I played it correctly. A coin flip, this is just flip. Like I didn't do anything to like better my chances of hitting a heads or a tails. It's just heads or tails, and it doesn't matter.
So you're saying there used to be an old stadium which would allow you rerolls if it was either your attacker. So are you saying like,
Yeah.
oh, if you give yourself a higher percentage chance, then I'm okay with that?
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have a lesser problem with that because it's like you've built your deck now around this strategy of having a better chance of flipping these things. So it would be harder, I think, for me to think, well, that you are a terrible player, but you just got lucky. Versus, well, you kind of built your deck around this. So I mean, kudos, great job. Like,
okay.
I don't know.
Okay. I want to separate one last thing because I think we may be arguing about. I want to make sure you're understanding that I'm not taking this position. I don't think flip decks require more skill or are more skilled decks. I agree. The Zoro Garbs, the Gardevoirs, some of these decks that we've saw that are just immaculate, like moves and sequencing and combinations of cards. Those are higher skilled decks. I no agree. If I come out and run my Iron Thorns and I hit 4 heads on 4 crushing hammers and win the game, I'm gonna take credit for winning the game and for taking the risk of running those crushing hammers, knowing that there's a lot of chance in there. But I also know that I'm not like running or saying that like I'm a super skilled player. Like if I ran Iron Thorns and got the win and showed up at a regionals with it, I'm not going onto the interview stage saying like, yeah, man, I worked really hard at this deck, blah, 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 really big skilled deck. I'm like, no, like I hit heads when I needed to, but I also played well around the cards that weren't based around any type of coin flipping. And I'm sure that was what Fernando's thinking. Like he knows he got there on some coin flips too. Like that's just how it is. So that's a separation I want to make is like, I agree with you. Don't run a coin flippy deck and call yourself super skilled. Understand that you took a risk reward dynamic and it hit. Yeah. But that I feel like it's 2 separate things.
Yeah, and I'm not saying coin flipping should be removed from the game. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you need to be prepared. If you win or lose, don't blame your coins. Like it's just that's what you did. You played it, and if you win that way, be okay that your opponent's going to be really frustrated.
Sure,
because that's just part of it, and don't be mad. And I think that's more what I'm getting
absolutely.
at with this.
It's like when you play stall deck. It's like, wow, if you'd really play the game, that would be fun. Like this is a lot of cheese stall.
But most of the time, and this is why stall has a hard time winning. Because there are win conditions. Like, and a lot of times it's like you just lose because your opponent just knows how to play it. Maybe you didn't hit the right cards off the Twisted Sisters or whatever. And so it's like you're just not going to win it. But at least it's like you're making them make the right plays to try to get there. This just feels like that play against Parker, against Jesse. I think it was game 3 or game 3. And it was like the most exciting part of the tournament. I think we talked about this last time where he hits the counter catcher, pulls out the Zapdos, drops the Lost City, goes for another coin flip, hits the crushing hammer, goes for another one, and then Jesse's already removing the energy. He doesn't hit it, but it was just like the crowd's getting into it. But that was the game changer because it removed the Zapdos that took the ability away from Jesse to one-shot Thorns, and it's like, that's it. Like, it pretty, and the match still kept going. But it was like, that coin flip right there, like, changed it. Or it basically won him the game.
Absolutely.
And, I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's fun and it's quirky, but there's like a reason why these type of decks don't win. I mean, they just don't, and it's because not many people play them.
Sure.
It goes back to our, the debate of like what decks are winning, and it kind of usually has to depend on the deck itself and if the good players are playing them too. So,
absolutely. Yeah. What decks are there and who's playing them? I totally agree. Interesting fact though. Again, this is from No Leaks. In one of the games, let's see, it was either I believe it was game 2 of the finals. There was 100% heads rate for Fernando. And again, what's also interesting here is Sanosuke had flipping in his deck with the Poke Catchers, right? He hit 0% of his heads and still won. So Fernando hit 100% heads. Sanosuke hits 0, still gets the dub. So it's like that's what I'm saying in this too. Is like it hitting a heads, no matter what you're trying to do, grants you an advantage. It can be a backbreaker, but like that game would be one of my arguments that I would bring up in Poke Court to say it doesn't fully determine the game, right? Even his matchup with Ian Robb, like Ian stacking like 6 energy on this one Reggie Drago, knowing and nullifying if he does hit a hammer. Okay, doesn't matter. I've got 6 energy on this Reggie Drago.
Yeah, but Thorns isn't. And I understand the Jesse Parker scenario won him the game because he got rid of the Zapdos. But in more times than not, Thorns isn't winning the match off of a heads because it's just stall. It's like control-ish type of move, right? You're bringing other Pokemon out, you're hitting them, you're making your opponent not be able to retreat or whatever. If Roaring Moon hits a heads, it's knockout because it's frenzied gouging. And so even if he's not hitting heads, the Roaring Moon is still powerful enough. So like one heads for him, it's just a different. The value of a heads or tails was different for Fernando than it was for Shinazuki. How do you say it?
Suzuki, yeah.
Shinazuki. It's just different, right? They do different things. So yeah, he can hit 4 and he can hit 0, but it's like the outcomes are so different because Fernando could have just been hitting heads just to buy time because he was like, well, I can't do anything else. I'm just going to hit a heads here. So it's like, were those valuable heads or just ones that he was like, well, I might as well, And in Crushing Hammer in that matchup, Shinazuki might be like, thank you. I needed a dark energy in my discard pile, so now I can say does or something. So it's just, I don't know. It's all situational, and that's what makes it frustrating.
That's fair. One last question to you before we wrap up the section and move to a new section that I know we're both really excited about. Sylveon. Did that Sylveon deck that you ran, did that have Crushing Hammers in it?
I don't remember. Move on to the next topic.
Jury,
you know what? I'm not taking this crap. You found any 3 cards, so you're like building out. And I tell you, half the time, I never like found a Crushing Hammer off of Magical Ribbon. Magical Ribbon, yeah. Because it was just like, why am I taking these 3 cards, or why would I take a Crushing Hammer off my 3 cards when I don't even know if I'm going to hit it or not? So it was just like, no. And then if I just drew them throughout the game, it's like, okay, here we go. Now there were some times against like Buzzhole, Lycanroc, where you have to, you needed one. But most of the time and not, I'm picking Plumeria, which is an automatic energy discard. Now you have to discard 2 cards of your own. It's a supporter. There was drawback to it. But it's like, I would rather pay the price for an automatic energy discard than I would flip this coin.
All I'm saying is a more skilled Sylveon player wouldn't risk anything on chance. That's all I'm saying. I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it at that.
I was really hoping you wouldn't bring it up. So
let's move on. Let's move on to our new section. I'm really excited about this. We're calling this Film Room, and this is actually where we're going to go back and look at some of the film from Worlds and talk about, and again, this is going to be part educational, even though this isn't our technical education moment, and learn about how we can get better. And so, Cory, why don't you throw it up there and tell us a little bit about the match that we're about to watch?
All right. At first, I just love this graphic. I don't even know how you found this. This is brilliant. All right. We are going to dive in to a screen share here, if I can figure it out. Okay. And this is a match basically was winning in, Jared. This is all right. You see it up on the screen here?
Absolutely.
All right, we're cooking. So this is Zach Lesage versus my boy on my fantasy team, my starting quarterback, Rahul Reddy. I might have been heavily rooting for Rahul in this matchup. But they're tied at 1-1 here. Rahul, he's on Lugia. You can see Lesage is on Reggie Drago. Rahul steamrolled game 1. Zach steamrolled game 2. But because Rahul won game 1, he gets to decide who go first or second in game 3. And he got, just to give you full glimpse of this, Rahul hit, the Archeops, Ultra Ball, double Archeops round, like turn 1. It is just brutal. That's so hard for any deck, maybe besides Miraidon, to come back and beat Lugia if you can get the Archeops in the discard pile with a Lugia on your bench. And Zach wasn't able to knock out the Lugia. So just to give context there, that's how this third game started. But we have talked about, Jared, in the past about quitting or giving up too early. Okay. And so I am going to let this play while I talk. And so right here, Rahul gets the knockout. He's up 2 prizes remaining. That's all Rahul needs. It goes over to Zach here. If you look at the board state, we'll give it another little pausey. Lesage needs 4 prizes. So this is very dire. Okay. And you're looking at this. Chip even mentions this on the broadcast that Rahul is like checkmate, basically close to checkmate. He has the Lugia 4 energies right here in the active spot. He has the Blood Moon Ursaluna on the bench. The key being the V-Guard energy is on the Ursaluna. Zach still has outs here. Okay, and we're gonna play it. We're gonna hit the play button. So you'll see Zach actually has a prime catcher in his hand, so he has the ability to yank off the bench. His 4 prizes remaining. One of them is an energy switch in his prizes, and then he has one in his hand. So he could still move energy to a Mew or to the Ogerpon, the leaf guy, right? So that's still in play next turn. So because Rahul cannot one shot the Reggie Drago, and if you look at his hand, Rahul he kind of does some shuffling. He doesn't have boss order in his hand, but Zach doesn't know that. Okay, Zach probably assumes he does, but that's part of the problem here. Don't quit based off assumptions. Rahul also has the Cinccino or the Minccino on the bench. Now, if he had a Cinccino evolution, that would be game, right? But as you see right here, it's prize, Jared. The Cinccino is prize. So
and he's only running a 1-1, right?
And he's running a 1-1. So that is not an option for Rahul to win the game. Zach doesn't know that. He's assuming that. So what you do here is you play your prime catcher. You have the Luminion on the bench that Lesage can one shot, but you could probably sprinkle damage on the Blood Moon Ursaluna and smack the see, and he quits there. Hold on. See, I'm just about the film room. And so there would be an opportunity here to potentially get 4 prizes, not this turn, but next turn.
Well, walk us through that. What has to happen? What has to happen for those 4 prizes?
So the Lugia, you could spread the damage on the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Okay.
Using what?
Using Reggie Drago, Dragon Pult. Okay. So you prime catcher, pull out the Luminion, and you can do that. Or you go prime catcher onto Blood Moon Ursaluna, and you could copy the move on the other way that does the 240. So I'm sorry. So you knock out Luminion, 200. You now have 2 prizes left. You sprinkle 6 onto the Blood Moon Ursaluna, right? So now it's 2-2 in prizes. Rahul has no response. He cannot one shot the Reggie Drago, and then you go into and then you go back to Lesage. you can copy the Blood Moon Ursaluna attack with the Mew if you want, and you can knock out Blood Moon Ursaluna. You could have also done it the other way where you sprinkled the damage on the Lugia and then copy the Lugia move with Mew that would have gotten the knockout on the Mew or the Lugia, or you could have moved it, and you see the Ogerpon has one leaf on there. He would have he had an energy switch in hand. Now the third or the final energy switch was in the top 2 of Lesage's prizes, and he would have needed that. And most likely he would not have pulled one of those top 2 cards, Jared, because when you're taking prizes, you're usually going in order. So he wouldn't have hit it, but that's not the point. Lesage doesn't know that take the risk. You might yank that energy switch off 2 prizes that he would have taken this turn, and that would have set him up for the checkmate on, because if Rahul had promoted Blood Moon Ursaluna to hit 240, or it would have been 220 on the Regidrago because of Gardevoir, he goes back to Lesage. He could have killed the Blood Moon. If he had kept the Lugia back out there, he could have killed the Lugia. Lesage quit based on assumptions. And that is the point.
Let me ask this, but doesn't Lesage know after I'm sorry, the point this clip was at, does Lesage still have 4 prize cards?
He still has 4 prize cards.
Okay. So I see what you're saying. So you're saying he doesn't finish the turn.
He doesn't finish this turn. So my point being, he has Prime Catcher in his hand right now. Okay? Lesage does. So he can get a knockout either if he goes the Lumineon route and drops 6 damage counters on Blood Moon Ursaluna. He could do that. And if Rahul promotes Blood Moon to smack Regidrago, Lesage has game next turn with the Mew because he can move the energies, right? If Rahul decides to promote the Lugia instead, the way he could have dropped the damage counters would have affected how the play that Rahul would have made, but Zach could have countered it with those 2 energy switches. So he could have. So the Lugia has 4 energy, right? It would have had 4 damage counters, and then the Teal Mass would have had 3 more. It would have been 210 plus the 30, which is 240, and that would have knocked out the Lugia, which is the lockout. Now, but I preference this by saying it wouldn't have happened that way because Lesage would not have pulled that energy switch off his prizes. He wouldn't have. So he probably
like you said, he doesn't know.
But he doesn't know that. That's the point. I'm not arguing that Lesage could have that he had the game won. It was a guarantee and he blew it. I'm not saying that. I think Rahul probably still pulls this game out, but Lesage didn't know that, and he quit and he gave up here. You are fighting for top 32, potentially top 8 at this point, actually, because this was the winning it. So you're fighting for that, Jared. Make Rahul prove it that he has the game in hand. The board state looks
easy. Boss show, easy evolution. Great. Show me the cards.
Show the boss. But he doesn't have it. Legacy energy. He has a Lugia in hand. He had a double colorless energy. He didn't have it, and so. But that didn't matter. Lesage is a good enough player. I think he was frustrated, but he's a good enough player to at least make his opponent prove it, and then you scoop up and go. But he just quit. That's the part. You promote Regidrago, Jared. Rahul had no way of one-shotting Regidrago with his current board state. He had no way of doing it. So the Chinchino was prized. He had no other openings on his bench to drop anything else. So it's make him show you that he can win the game. And this ended up being a big effect down the road for Lesage because Zach ends up not making top 32. He got 36th. Didn't make any money, felt terrible for the guy. I mean, he made this heartfelt post apologizing to his teammates and his fans and his wife and his kiddo. It was so sad. It's you want to root for this guy, but it's finish the match out. Just finish the match. And so that's jumping in the film room here. Always finish the game. Now, if your opponent has checkmate on board, like legitimate checkmate, okay, quit, move on, because that's just now you're like just that's not good for your opponent. Like, but he didn't have it yet, and I don't know, who knows if he would have hit it. So that's my jumping in the film room. Here we'll go back to this.
The film room.
Jump in the film room there. Here at Pokemon Worlds. So kids, new players, old players, Poke Dads, don't quit. Especially when the stakes are so high. Like, we've seen it time and time again, comebacks, right? We've seen it, Jared. So it's like, don't give up on it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good word, a really, really good word, and a great example. I appreciate you pulling up some film and showing us, even if it seems like it's a .001, why not play it out, especially in a game 3? You got nothing to lose in a game 3, everything to gain. Really, really great. You know what else is really, really great, Corey? Stray collections.
What?
Right. Stray collections. You don't
Stray collections.
You don't have to flip a coin to get what you want at Stray collections.
Nope.
It doesn't. They're not going to block your powers. They're not going to misplay. They are not going to quit on you either at Stray collections. They're going to keep on producing great collection.
Preach it.
Great content. Go get you some singles over there. Go get you a card that you're looking for your binder, and use our code TEACH10.
TEACH10, baby. TEACH10. Get your 10% off. So, Stray collections. Get ready for the season. Everyone's gearing up for the season. You might need some cards. So,
let's go.
We can hook you up. Stray collections.
All right. Well, let's go to our official education moment here. And what I want to talk about is something that I don't think either of us do ever. I've never done this at a league, at a regionals, and I'm wondering if I should start. And I see a lot of great players doing this, and I think it could be helpful, but it's a very...
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
It's Corey. Should we game or look through our deck? We know at the prime if our pursue this, is this for...
The answer is something that the game is allowed to win the game. In my opinion, pad, you have to feel normal or natural. Tord does it. Write some stuff down. Like these guys. Like, now, you have to know your deck in and out. Because if you are sitting there for 5 minutes trying to write stuff down, no, that's not going to happen. You'll watch quick, Isaiah Bradner, these guys, like, find all their Pokemon first, right? Look through all their energies second, front and back of the deck. And then from that, they can determine, okay, what Pokemon are prized, how many energy am I supposed to have? And then from that, you kind of go sift through your trainers and supporters. So I highly suggest this. Just get little notepad, just one of those ones that just flip up. Like, you don't have to have a binder. It's just like you're a detective trying to solve a case, Jared, and you just write your little notes down. I think everybody, maybe Teach Me Pokemon, should design personalized notepads for everybody.
So with like 6 little spots so you can write in your prizes. I like that a lot. That a lot.
Work on abbreviations too. I think that is always very helpful because, you're not writing, professor's research or, Turo's, I don't even know the whole name of Turo. And so but you want to just come up with so that you remember. There were some times back in the day when I'd run a Guardy Gallade and I would try to remember what they were. And it was just like, or no, it wasn't Guardian Glade. Which one did you get to look at them and then rearrange them? Not Town Map. I thought it was another. Anyway, uh, uh, Gladian, Gladian,
Gladian, yeah,
the Gladian.
Gladian, yeah.
And you try to write down like, and sometimes I'd look and be like, what did I mean by that? Like I don't even remember what I like.
That's an energy.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I grabbed the wrong card, and it's like, dang it. So, have some good abbreviations, but yes, 100%. It's just because it's awkward. That's my take. Is it just feels awkward and not natural to do it, and you don't want to take the time to look through your deck. You just want to play. So on your first turn, I think it's very, very understood that it's going to take a little bit longer. I think everyone gets it. That's Redcliffe's. That's Tord's argument to just saying let your opponent, or you can each look at your own prizes and then just shuffle, because it's like, because the good players, that's why they take a 5-minute turn one, because you're just looking. So it's just like, eliminate it. Just let people look at their prizes. So, but they don't let you do that. So take notes.
No, I think that's good. I'll tell you a story, and I'll tell you why I think this is good, because Pokemon is a game of information, right? It is information war gets you the advantage. When you'll remember this story, when you and I were in college together, I tried to memorize a public speech.
Okay.
And I was going to not use notes, and I was going to try to recite that entire speech from memory.
And I remember.
Yes, you remember this story. And I got up there and I froze like a deer in a wind deer in the headlights.
A wind deer.
A wind deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
And and I could have had notes. I could have had notes right there and been just fine. I don't know if you already said this, but get rid of the guesswork.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. And I understand not every deck is going to run something that allows you. And I do think there is a balance with like how many times you look through your deck at the beginning. I think most people are looking for Pokemon 1 and kind of some of their more one-off other energy item cards, whatever. But I have never done it. And I've often wondered two things. One, will it help, whether it's incrementally or a lot? Or two, will it just be another thing that I have to do? And I think that's why a lot of people don't do it, is because it feels a little bit like multitasking. And I'm not a great multitasker. I'm a terrible multitasker. So if I add this other element to the game, this other thing that I have to do, is it going to be a distraction? I think for a lot of people, it's like, it's just not worth the trouble. But I agree with you. It probably is worth the trouble.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like, how many times, speaking from a stall control player's perspective, your Rotom turn 1 is so valuable. And if you go second, your Arven Stone Rotom is like what you have to do. And how many times have I nest ball for Rotom and I have the Arven in my hand? So I'm like, all right, I'll nest ball, and then I'll grab an item, and then Forest Seal Stone. So I just do it real quick. And then I Arven, instead of maybe like an Iona or something, Arven, and the Forest Seal Stone's prized. And it's like, what was I thinking? Like, I could have looked when I nest balled. And it's like, I didn't, because you're lazy, and you don't want to take the time to figure it out. Maybe you don't know your deck well enough. Like, you got to do it. You got to do it, especially at a regionals, especially when the stakes are high. But you just want to get in the rhythm of it. Like, you can watch like some of the Japanese players do it so fast. Like, and so, but it's just practice. It's repetition. That's all it is. And I do think Azul says this all the time. Practice shuffling. Like, you should practice shuffling your deck, because you do that faster. You can look through your deck faster. It won't take as much time, which is what I think why people don't do it, because they just are nervous about taking so much time doing it, which is like, take a breath. It's your first turn. Look through your deck.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good. And go ahead.
Well, and I think I gave you a prompt for that speech, and then you finished it.
You did.
Right?
I had it sitting on my desk, and you gave me the next line.
I think I looked over it,
and it was like, there you go.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, and I don't know if you remember this, there was a time in Pokemon where what you were writing down was public information. And I know the rules have changed over the years, but I remember a time where, you could have notes, but your opponent was more than welcome to take a glance at it. at public. So I
Oh.
remember people were like doing what you're saying. They're like, if they knew what their prizes were, they had their own code. And then maybe somebody on the opposite side of the table was trying to break that code to figure out what they had prized.
I
But
forgot about that.
I could be way off on that. If you're listening and you're in the comments, shoot me a line on whether you remember that time in Pokemon or whether I'm just pulling that out of my wind ear.
Yeah.
So,
out of your wind ear. Yeah, maybe that was what you told yourself, so you didn't take notes because you didn't want to take notes or something.
it's very true. It's very
But
true.
knowing us, like if we were playing at home and you did that, you would have lied on your 6 prizes. I would have done that.
Oh, for sure.
You'd
For
be like,
sure.
I would have done that.
Oh, for sure.
You'd
For
be like,
sure.
Oh, all 4
You would have
Gardevoir.
you would have wrote down Dusknoir every single game for Gardevoir Gallade. And I was like, oh great, I could lay down that 4th pitch spot. That's fine.
That is totally what would have happened. One of the best powers ever to exist in the game of Pokemon. I don't think there's one better.
So
Just remove an opponent's bench. Just it's gone.
as
Discard.
an ability, not as a move.
Yeah,
as a
just
move.
an ability. Yeah, I think it was put it back in their hand, but still.
That's why it won Worlds. But that's what's so great about Worlds this year as we kind of wrap up this episode. Dusknoir with Guardy Gallade has to share a place in history now with Iron Thorns with 8 flipping cards in it. Love it. Love it.
So stupid. So stupid. I will say, back to your speech class real quick, or the speech class I was in with you. You know, you recovered. You did some other good speeches to the point where the professor wanted to add you to the debate team, but he thought you were like a freshman, I think. So I think that was where it was.
He thought that I had just chosen my starter Pokemon and it had just set out on mine. And the truth is I was kind of near Indigo Road and he didn't know that.
He had no idea. Yeah, he's like,
it was an honor for him to say that.
He's like, I'm gonna have 3 years with this guy. This is incredible. Like, no, I can
shape him. I can mold him.
I can mold him. I was born in the darkness, molded by it. Well, I love it, man. Well, Worlds, awesome. Lot of goodies. Upset deck, controversy, top players. I think we have a guest that we're gonna come chat about a little bit of Worlds next week. I haven't even told you about that, so we'll do that, and then we'll move on. We got Baltimore coming up soon, Louisville, some tournaments, around the world happening. So we'll get back at it, Jared. See what starts to come up. We are the world of more Terra Pokemon is upon us. It's soon. It's not yet, but it's soon, and it's gonna really change. It's gonna change a lot of what's going on. So it's gonna be exciting.
I love it. I love it. Well, that is gonna wrap us up today. Be sure to subscribe, hit that button, notifications, like. Leave us a comment.
We're at 1,000.
Hey!
We didn't even talk about that. Hey! We got there.
I love it. Thanks for the support, everybody. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Forgot to tell you that. Sorry.
I should have led with that.
I buried the lead. Matthew, our editor, put it at the front. No.
There we are. Yeah, we are there. We're chugging along, baby. We're getting there.
Come on. So very cool.
Love it. All right. Well, that is going to wrap us up. And as we say to each other and to all of you, until next week, we'll catch you later.
You can find us at roguemedianetwork.com. Teach Me Pokemon Podcast. Come and dive with us.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.